Alrighty, this is Bodie's Novice Lumberjack's 357 XP. I think I've done a video on it, and then I'm not sure if I put it out or it's still buried in my phone somewhere. But as far as what's gone on with it so far, it originally came in, there was a little bit of a air leak on the intake. I think the carburetor had gotten put on separate from the cylinder, and it just didn't align correctly. The secondary issue past that was far too much ignition timing advance. When I took, I couldn't get after I corrected the air leak, I could not get the idle RPM down. Took the ignition advance out of it, was able to get the idle RPM down. Now, after I straightened out the port work, which when I say that, the transfers were all different heights. I matched all the transfers to the highest one. It's at 117 on the transfers. That's higher than I've pushed anything, and the main issue I have now is it won't rev out. That could be because I'm not getting enough time between the transfers and exhaust opening. This is 117 on the transfers, 103 on the exhaust, 80 on the intake. So I could be in a situation of not getting enough time between the transfers and the exhaust opening. I'm trapping dirty charge in the cylinder, or I am stalling. I'm stalling transfer before it can exit the exhaust. I'm stalling fuel air transfer. It should rev to, with a 103 exhaust, it should rev close to 14,000, and I think I'm getting like 13 and some change. And I mean, it should rev strong to 14,000, especially with the transfers being so high. Two things I can see doing. One of them will really let me know which direction I need to head. This was the carburetor Novice Lumberjack had in it and soldered. I am not certain if getting it hot enough to get that solder on there could have caused monkey business in the carburetor. I don't know. So, being this is a modified part, bought a brand new stock one. Zama EL42. If the carburetor's not the issue, I can use this on a 346 hybrid. So I needed one anyway. That's not an issue that I had to buy it. I just double checked the timing on it. I have 80 on the intake, 117 transfers, 103 exhaust. Exhaust may be closer to 102. If the carburetor doesn't fix it, then I think I have an issue between the transfers and exhaust. Essentially what it needs is more blowdown time. Since this is an OEM cylinder, I don't want to grind the cylinder to say 100 exhaust roof and all of a sudden it's a turd because it has no compression. Probably won't happen, but there's potential for that. How you get around that is you can get an aftermarket piston for in the realm of $20 to $40. If you go with a Meteor, they're probably going to be closer to the $40 range when they're shipped to your house. If you go with like a Highway, or what this has in it is a Golf, they're in that $15 to $25 range more than typically. So, being that I don't want to modify the intake, and I don't want to modify the transfers, and I don't want to modify the exhaust, we're going to modify the piston, and I'm going to cut the exhaust side of the piston crown. I'll see how much I can get off of it. I have it marked, and from there, say I take 3 degrees out, all of a sudden the thing starts coming alive. I'll know, hey, need to change something. I think pretty much out of room to do machine work. Might be able to take more out of the chamber, I'm not certain. But if a couple degrees off the piston helps, then I know, hey, I can go back in the cylinder, take a couple degrees off, and all of a sudden it'll be nice and peachy, and I can get this all back to Bodie where it belongs. I've had it way too long, and I need to get it done, because I do have another one of his as an even bigger project than this. So yeah, again, it's just me. I feel like I'm dropping the ball, but I've been really pressed for time, and I'm not trying to make excuses. That's just view it however you want. I've been pressed for time, and I just haven't, the free time that I have had, I haven't devoted toward more work, because I get one day off a week typically, and sometimes all I want to do that day is sleep. So let's see, I marked the piston basically at bottom dead center. I'm gonna drop my phone. That's part of the process. So you might be able to see a very fine line in there. It's about half the thickness from the crown to the ring. I'm going to match that up with the roof and see where that lands on the degree wheel, and that's just giving me a better idea of, and this is giving me a better idea of where I can move things in the current configuration. So based on piston height, I can go all the way to 97. I will probably try 100 first. Probably try 100 first. That's a little high for my tastes. I would, based on the stroke and the bore size, I'd prefer to run like 102, but man, it really could run pretty good at 100. I'll have to double check the height there and see what compression volume I'll lose. I think the 13 degrees between the intake and exhaust here is just too much. I think I'm pushing too much transfer in there and not having enough exhaust out, and it's causing a massive combustion inefficiency and running like poo. It needs to run a lot better. This is 55 cc's, and I did an Echo 450. That's 45 cc's. This and the 450 were 1 second away from each other in like a 18-inch log. That's That's not good. That's if I was gonna pick numbers on a fresh cylinder, I'd probably say 78, 120, and 102 is what I'd shoot for. I mean, I'd want like 8-to-1 corrected compression ratio, or like 7 3/4 to 1. That would be. It seems like 7 3/4 to 8-to-1 is pretty spicy on most everything. You can get around 100 and, what is it? What would it be? 160 degrees of duration. Yeah, if you can get like 160 degrees of exhaust duration, 7 3/4, 8-to-1 corrected compression, if that, then they typically run pretty good. There's a lot of factors into that, but that's how I'm trying to tune some of the stuff. Okay, Novice Lumberjacks 357, take 2. Think I got the tuning issues. Think I have the tuning issues solved. Not certain. It's late. I'm only going to make like one test cut. New carburetor. The other one was new, but it had been modified, and I'm just basically working backwards so I can work forwards. And it's taken me way too long to do so. I also need to get a clutch drum, and I think install some screws to keep the top cover in place a little better. Still don't think it's revving out like it should, and I still don't think it's pulling like it should, but that's as far as the manners of it, it's significantly better than it was. The kind of loading and unloading there, I'm fairly certain is due to the clutch drum because it's worn super uneven. So I'm gonna try and get that. Hopefully I can get one of those in this week, or scrounge around the garage. I might be able to find one that fits. I'm also going to trim the piston on the exhaust side and see if I can get it to rev out a little better. It's only revving like 13,000, and I think factory they run more higher than that. But sorry, Bodie, if you're watching this, for taking so damn long on the thing.